I want to start with the Opens. I know that planning for next year's Open starts the day after this year's Open finishes. Just some thoughts about the two Opens, the two National Opens we've just had, and their importance to the game more broadly.
I guess the reason they're so important to us is they're a flagship for Australian golf and they help promote the game. We've just finished the Women's Open, and one of the reasons we invest into that is it helps create role models, it gives our players somewhere to play, but probably most importantly it helps inspire new girls in particular into golf, and that's the reason, the major reason why we invest into them.
You see it on the course with the young people that are out there, don't you, with the wide eyes, looking at the Kari Webbs and the Lydia Ko's, saying that's what I want to be one day.
Yeah, absolutely, and you see it when they want to get autographs and just want to interact in person with their stars.
The men obviously has been in Sydney for a number of years. I think 2015 was, last I heard, was officially the last year in Sydney. The women obviously in Melbourne. Is that likely to stay the same for the future? Is there any movement in that area as yet?
Well, actually, both of our contracts with state governments end in 2015, so we're in the process of finalising or looking at a new agreement with the Women's Open. In terms of the Australian Open, the event in Sydney in November will be the last one of that deal.
Because the infrastructure involved in staging those events, there's probably a lot of golf fans don't understand just what's required, do they?
Yeah, there's not that many golf courses around the country that can host Australian Opens just because of what you need in terms of access and parking and village, and then we've always been, I guess, very particular in wanting the best golf courses in the country to host our Open Championships, which we've been able to do over a period of time.
The market for professional golf, of course Golf Australia is the head of the amateur body, but the Opens are professional events. The market for professional golf is getting more difficult right around the world. Most tours, apart from probably the US tour, have had their struggles. There's a lot of people have suggested perhaps we should think about co-sanctioning, particularly our men's events, with some of the European events, and perhaps move back to a February sort of calendar. Are they the sorts of things that Golf Australia thinks about? Would the Open be a candidate for something like that at any stage?
Potentially, but probably not likely. I guess you've got to work out what you get out of co-sanctioning with tours. From our experience, one of the great things co-sanctioning with LPGA around the Women's Open, that's a tour that really brings its best players. You don't have to pay extensive appearance fees outside of that. So I guess co-sanctioning, you want that tour to be able to deliver its best players. So that's always going to be a prerequisite of co-sanctioning arrangements. I guess the formula that we've had, if we're talking about the Men's Open, is having a really strong Australian field with some top-line players. And if you look at what we've had over the last few years...
2011?
Yeah, exactly. I guess we had 9 of the US team, coupled with our great Australian players, from Adam and Jason and Robert and Jeff and Stuart and Greg Chalmers and John Sendon and Mark Leishman and on and on and on. So it's been a very deep field in that sense, and that's worked really, really well for us. We've seen the Australian Open go from strength to strength. We've had a great partner with Emirates, who've been just a fantastic naming rights sponsor.
As one of the oldest trophies in the game, it's quite a responsibility to be in charge of the Australian Open, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm sure you take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely you do. It's a really nice thing to spend 10 minutes or so looking at the names on the trophy, and there's this patch there that sort of alternates between Nicholas and Player, and then you throw in Thompson and Jack Newton and Greg Norman, and it's just an amazing trophy in terms of the history of the Australian Open.